I'm here on Rogers TV, Under Pressure. TL and I have been talking about this book for the last week and a half. It's one of those books that you read and really changes your philosophy and your outlook, not only on just parenting, I think on a broader scale, on life in general. And we are joined by the author of Under Pressure, Carl Honoré. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Carl. Thanks. Good to be here.
And it really is this book talking about hyperparenting, and I know exactly what they mean. I have a 3-year-old, and I've already started a little bit of it myself. How about yourself? When did it sort of click when you started realizing that this is something that's happening in our society today?
Well, for me, the trigger was a parent-teacher evening, as it so often is. You know, when I was there, like a lot of us, I was perched on that little plastic chair, really low on the ground, hanging on every word from the teacher, and waiting for that little pearl of praise to fall into my lap that would just make me feel it was okay, you know, that I was doing the right thing. And the feedback was good. My son was 7 years old at the time, and I was, you know, but there was nothing stellar, nothing to just make you puff your chest out until we got to the art room. And the art teacher was just gushing, said, you know, your son's brilliant, he's wonderful, and here's his picture on the wall. We use it as a model for the other kids. Oh. And then she dropped what I call the G-bomb. She said, he's gifted.
Oh my!
It was like
you must have been like, I have a Van Gogh.
Hair on back of neck, you know. And it was like I didn't hear anything after that. I just marched home. I was on Google. I started hunting down an art tutor to nurture this gift and turn my son's art into an achievement. You know, I could see the next Picasso being raised in our household. And thankfully, my son stopped me in my tracks. We walked to school the next day. I said, look, what do you think? I've got an art tutor. This guy's going to turn you into Matisse.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you know, I just want to draw. I love to draw. And then he delivered what I think of as the coup de grace. He said to me, why do grown-ups have to take over everything? Mm-hmm. And it was like, you know, a slap in the hand. And that was the moment I thought, whoa, you know, I've lost my compass, lost my bearings here.
So, I mean, interestingly enough, you say, he said, why do grown-ups have to do that? Why do grown-ups do that? Why do you think that there is this trend, Carl, into this hyper-parenting? Why has it evolved like that?
I think that at the moment we live in a kind of what I think of as a sort of cultural perfect storm, where lots of trends have come together at the same moment. So on one hand, you have this culture of soaring expectations. We expect everything to be perfect in this airbrush society. Perfect teeth, perfect kitchen, perfect holiday, perfect child. You know?
Right.
And then there's also the fact that the economy is more competitive now, the workplace more insecure, so parents feel they have to give their kids an edge. I think we've seen a change in demographics. Smaller families means just think of the arithmetic. You've got more time to invest per child. Parents are older coming to the parenting deal now, and I think we spend a lot of years in the workplace. We get to parenting, and we bring a lot of that management ethos with us. So we think, what's the best way to parent? How do we make it better? Well, let's bring in the expert advice, let's spend a lot of money, and let's work long hours at it, you know? Yeah. And they put all those together, and we've ended up with this kind of bizarre mania around kids.
Do you think that also parents want to give their kids things that they didn't necessarily have when they were growing up? Sort of relive their own lives through their kids?
I think so. I think that's very much what parents have always done that. I mean, I think this hyper-parenting impulse comes from a very natural and noble instinct, which is to do the best by our children, you know, and that's a good thing. The trouble now is that it kind of morphs into something really extreme, so that we end up micromanaging every moment of our children's lives and feeling that if, you know, little Johnny isn't in Mensa by the time he's 4, or he hasn't got that Rhodes Scholarship by the time he's 9, somehow he's a failure, we're a failure, and he's going to spend his life flipping burgers at McDonald's kind of thing.
Let's talk about bringing it to the extreme. In your research and traveling around the world, what did you see was a common theme of how parents are micromanaging their kids?
I think the common theme here is fear. And for my book, I traveled through the Far East, North and South America, and Europe, and I found myself having the same conversation with parents, teachers, anyone who had anything to do with kids, but especially parents. And parents are anxious now. I mean, I've got 2 kids myself, 9 and 6, so I'm on the front line, and I know that fear, that reflex. It's a simple thing. You may be at the school gate, you overhear a dad saying, oh, my daughter's just signed up for violin. And that panic, you know, and it just kicks in, and that just is everywhere now. We're bombarded by all of this sense that, you know, a normal child is not good enough anymore. Only an alpha child can survive. And of course that's preposterous, because there's so many different kinds of children and so many different ways to grow up.
So what effect does this micromanaging, this taking it to the extreme, what effect is it having on children?
Well, it's backfiring badly. And if you think of all of the time, money, and energy that we invest in our children today, you would expect that we'd be seeing the emergence of a generation of the happiest, healthiest, most intelligent kids that the world has ever seen.
Right.
But it ain't so. You know, you look around, children are more obese than ever before. Kids are suffering from sports injuries at younger and younger ages. Child anxiety and depression is now more prevalent, not among the poor, but in the leafy suburbs where the go-getting middle classes are project managing their kids and piling on the pressure. And what happens at the end of this assembly line that childhood has become is that kids come out the other end, they haven't learned basic life lessons, like how to stand on your own 2 feet. So you find at universities now professors saying that they're sitting in an interview with a child who has a glittering resume, but they're talking about his academic future. He gets a bit frustrated. What does he do? Reaches into his pocket, pulls out the cell phone, hits speed dial, and says, "Sort it out with my mom."
Yes, exactly.
And the
Good
umbilical cord
point.
doesn't get snipped. It's
Yeah.
like they're tethered to the mothership, and it doesn't even stop at university now. You've got parents turning up at job interviews, helping to negotiate salary and
That was
vacation
a shock
packages.
to me
you know.
Yes.
when I read the book.
Yeah.
That was one of the shocking things to me. The parents showing up during interviews. Listen,
Yeah.
don't go away. We're going to come back with you for a second segment with Carl Honoré, author of Under Pressure. Right.